Hello, lovely yogi. Today I'm bringing you another pose breakdown. This one's by request. We'll be going over Pigeon Pose. So if you want to learn how to get in and out of the pose, some tips and tricks on how to modify and different variations you can take, come flow with me. Before we get into the actual pose, let's talk a little bit about it. Pigeon Pose is essentially a hip opener. So the leg that's in the front during this pose has the opportunity to rotate externally from the hip, and it opens up that joint. In our modern day world, we do a lot of activities and live a type of lifestyle that can make our hip joint really, really tight and the muscles around the hip area really, really tight. So this is a really good pose to counteract some of that tightness. Now, emotionally and mentally, we can hold a lot of tension in our hips. It's one of those places where we can carry that tension and find tightness in our muscles because of that tension. So when you go into a pose that is a great hip opener, such as Pigeon Pose, you might find that you feel an emotional or mental stimulation or release. So this is another great benefit of this pose. In the most advanced version of Pigeon Pose, not only do you have a hip opener in the front, but you also have a chest opener and back bend where your back leg is bent up and you're grabbing it with your palms behind you. So before you go into any type of intense hip opening postures, it's a really good idea to prepare your body and your muscles to go into that space so you can get as much out of it and go as deep as you can into it. Let's start first with a gentler hip opener, which can also be a variation if a full pigeon pose is not accessible to you. To get into a reclined pigeon pose, you'll first bend your knees, take your feet flat on the mat, making sure you're in the center of your mat. Just begin to gently lay all the way back and down. Once you're on your back, make any adjustments you need to, and maybe even just take a few breaths here. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Release any tension. One more time, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And now take your right ankle and cross it across your left thigh, like so. So bending the knee outward. Keep a flex in that right ankle, pointing your toes, right toes towards your right knee. Now, if you feel a lot of sensation in this space, stay here. If you want a little bit more, lift up your left foot and reach your palms behind your left thigh. Here you can start pulling your knee in towards your chest. Again, remembering to keep this alignment in your right leg. Knee is pointing out and pushing outward, and your ankle is flexed to protect that knee. You can pull in here as much as you need to. Really feel the stretch in the outer part of your hips. And if you want a little bit more here, you can always reach for that left shin and pull in even closer. Breathe here. This is a great preparation to go into deeper hip openers like Pigeon Pose. And know that at any point, if you're taking a yoga class, whether it's at home or in a studio, you can take this variation instead of a pigeon pose if that's what feels right to you. As you exhale, release both feet back onto your mat. Drop your knees side to side gently. And then we'll go on to the opposite side. So bringing your left ankle over your right thigh this time. Again, press that knee out as much as you can. Flex through your left ankle, pointing your left toes towards your left knee. Breathing here and staying here if this is the right space for you, or reaching your palms behind your right thigh and pulling your knee in closer. Taking a few breaths here, and then if you want to go deeper, grabbing onto the right shin. As you're in this space, try to roll your shoulders back and down. You keep that opening through the chest as well. Two more breaths in and out. And as you exhale, release. Again, take your knees side to side. Just gently releasing out of that space. And then when you're ready, just coming back up, rolling up, and then making your way onto your hands and knees. Now we'll move into pigeon pose. Let's start in downward facing dog first. So tucking your back toes under, shifting your hips up and back, find your downward facing dog. As you inhale, lift the right leg high up to the sky. As you exhale, bend your knee out towards your shoulder. Bring your right ankle behind your left wrist. Take that time to shift your back leg as far back as you can. And then making sure that your right knee is outside of the line of your right shoulder. Shifting your hips if you need to. Making sure that you're not too far to the right, sinking this way, or too far to the left, sinking this way. You want your hips to be as square to your mat as possible. Both of your frontal hip points pointing towards the top of your mat. You can keep your palms down here, and as you inhale, just open up in your chest. Take the time here to open up first. And then if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you can begin to fold forward. You can come onto your forearms here, or you can come all the way down, shifting your forehead. Again, remember, take it just as far as your body can go. And just like we did in reclined pigeon, keep a flex through your right ankle, pointing your toes back towards your knee. Breathe in and breathe out. Engage your core and keep your legs strong and engaged here. So from here, to release out of this space, come up onto your palms as you inhale, tuck the back toes under, and then lift up, shift back into your three-legged dog. And then just release that right leg out. Take some hip circles, knee circles, ankle circles, whatever you need to do. When you're ready, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Moving on to the left side, inhale your left toes high. Exhale, bend the knee, take it out towards your shoulder. Release here. Your left ankle comes behind your right wrist. And again, these are just points of reference, so it doesn't have to be exact. Each of us has a different anatomy, different body, so just taking it towards that direction and then finding the space that works for you. Again, shifting your hips, making sure that they're square and pointing forward. And as you fold, making sure that your hips are pointing directly down towards your mat, both in the same plane. Inhaling, open up your chest, mini back bend. Exhale and fold forward if you'd like to. Again, keeping that flex in your front ankle. Breathing. Let me show you from a different angle. So here in pigeon, you want the knee that's in the front outside of the line of your shoulder. So you can see my shoulder is right here and my knee is outside. This really allows for that hip to open up as deep as it can, and when you fold forward, it gives you space to find that forward fold. Again, you want to keep a flex in that front ankle, and you don't want your hips to be on one side, and you don't want to sit on that front hip either. So you want the hips to be square. Both frontal hip points pointing forward and staying in the same plane even as you fold forward. Inhale, coming up onto your palms. Tuck the back toes under. Exhale and release out of that space. Shift back into your three-legged dog and shake it out. Now coming into your tabletop, we'll see how you can shift into your pigeon pose from tabletop. All you need to do here is, again, the same concept. You can just begin to shift your knee and your ankle forward. We'll do the right side first. And then you can heel toe and shift that back leg back. You can do the same thing on the left side. So we'll come back into our tabletop this time, just bringing the knee back. And then bringing that left foot forward. You can use your hands to help your foot and leg into the place you need it to go. Shifting back with that back leg and finding your space here. Again, remembering that in this space you want your left knee outside of the line of your left shoulder. And shifting back into your tabletop. Maybe take a couple of hip circles here, shifting side to side, forward and back. And release out of that space. Now that we've gone over how to get into pigeon pose, let's talk about some modifications and variations. So, coming back into that space of pigeon, here on the right side, if you feel like you're shifting too far to the right with your hip or too far to the left, one option you can take is using a folded up blanket. This can be any blanket that you have lying around, and just simply place it under the front hip. This gives you a little bit of support here in this space, helping you to keep your hips square. And again, you can come down. And if this forward fold is not accessible to you, or you feel like you need support in this space, you can, again, use a blanket, a bolster, or a block, which is what I have here. And place it in front of you, and then place your forearms onto the block. If you're feeling tension in your neck in the forward fold, you can keep your palms down or your forearms down. Put your block down long ways as a space to rest your forehead on. Another variation you can take with pigeon pose is adding in a quad stretch for your back leg. So for this, you would bend your back knee, and you can reach back with either arm. Just reach for your foot, your toe, ankle, and keeping your heart open. Find that quad stretch. Now, if you can't make the connection with your palm and your toes, you can use a yoga strap here. Make a nice long loop with your strap here. And you can use anything you have around the house, a towel, a strap. And then just place it over the foot that's going to be in the back. And then coming into this space, making sure that your strap is accessible to you. We'll take pigeon pose once more. And shifting, making sure the hips are square. And then bending the back knee, finding your strap, reach back and pull. You can use both hands here. And just go as far as you can reach. This is a great variation actually to work towards the most advanced version of pigeon pose, which is king pigeon with the back bend, which is then you can start beginning to reach both palms back and finding your back bend. And release and let go of the strap. Tuck your back toes under and shift out of that space. So those are a few of the variations you can take with pigeon pose. And the modification, like we went over in the beginning, is a reclined pigeon. The beauty of yoga is that it meets you where you are. So no matter which variation of pigeon pose you take, you know that you're working on opening up the hips and finding relaxation in that space. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Comment down below and let me know which pose you'd like me to break down next. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.